On a Thursday afternoon, I decided I wanted to go camping. So as soon as work was done for the day, I packed up the car with the basics, bought a bit of food, and drove off to a local campground. My dog and we have camped before, but not during the winter. The nighttime temperatures hover a degree or two above freezing. It was important for me to get a fire going to warm up before bedtime, which was no easy task given I had forgotten kindling. And much of what I could find on the ground was too damp, resulting in a very smoky fire. Normally, I would have set up a tent. However, on this trip, I didn't for two reasons. One being my tent is a tiny solo backpacker tent. My car by no means is large, but compared to a tent, it is a lot more spacious. And two, I didn't know how my dog would react to being in near freezing temperatures overnight. And unfortunately, I learned that she needs to wear a coat to bed. I tried to use my puffy coat as a sleeping bag for her, but she didn't like being covered by it. For dinner, I had grocery store packaged Indian food, basmati rice, and chana masala. This is kind of my go-to lazy camping meal. All you need to do is boil water, pop the pouches in the water for 3 to 5 minutes, and you're good to go. I did flip the packages to warm up the side of the package that wasn't heated by the water. It ended up being way too much food, so I saved about half of it for another meal. Now, why I decided to do this trip, I think honestly sometimes I just get tired of being in the same place all the time. And I felt like my routine was getting a bit stale and I just needed a change of scene. So this was a really nice way to disrupt my normal weekend patterns. At the campground, I had no neighbors. It was quiet. It was just me and the dog. Out of about 60 available campsites, I think there were probably about a dozen sites occupied, so everyone had lots of privacy. It was great. Another part of me wanted to go on this camping trip to test out a new camera that I received in the mail earlier this week. So a good portion of the footage that you're watching was shot on my new camera, which is the Akaso Brave 7 action camera. I don't think it's the best quality camera, but it is cheap and it will kind of allow me to play around with stuff. And I would say my philosophy on this is to start cheap and to start with what you've got. And then if you've decided that this is something that is worth more money and more time to invest in, then that's the future plan to make. But at this point in time, I'm just experimenting with things and playing around with things and having fun. The other thing about camping is that you can kind of treat yourself to things, or I like to treat myself to things that I wouldn't normally buy. And for this trip, I would say hot chocolate was that thing. I saw it on the shelf at the store and I thought it would be kind of a nice treat to have by the fire at nighttime. So yeah, I got it and it was great. Really tasty hot chocolate. There's always something quite special about reading a book by headlamp while sitting next to a fire, even if it isn't a roaring one. Eventually, the sun crept over the horizon line. The dog got to lick stuff and eat her doggy soup for breakfast. I call it doggy soup because I've been adding extra water to her food as of late because I think she's a bit dehydrated. Now for myself, I kick-started my morning with a coffee. Nothing fancy, just AeroPressed it and served it with some oat milk. It was also a very chilly morning. I was really eager to start another fire. I was wearing quite a lot of clothing. I had a thin sweater, a hoodie, long johns, fleece pants, my puffy, a toque, and I still felt a little bit cold. Now, I'm definitely one of those people that likes to be super warm. So once I got the fire kind of going, I definitely felt a lot better. The night in the car was a bit difficult. My dog was unhappy and cold, and I was not very comfortable. I was wrapping myself around her, and I would say her sleeping style is very much magnet. She likes to sleep in positions that don't allow me to move my legs, which is really tricky for me because I like to roll around a lot when I sleep. So, unfortunately, I don't think either one of us had a great sleep or ever really truly fell asleep. This trip was only really intended to be a quick spur of the moment trip. So, we did end up leaving the campground at checkout time and headed back home. But before we did that, we went on a short hike. Now, because this was Friday and the hike that I wanted to go on, I realized that it was on active logging roads for part of it, so I decided to not do the full hike just because I didn't know how active some of these roads were. All in all, even though things were a bit uncomfortable and I didn't get maybe as much sleep as I would have liked, it was still a really good trip, and I'm really glad that we went and kind of broke out of our normal routine.